Ready? Yep. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everybody to our regular November meeting of the Clay County Board of Education. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Caldwell, if he will, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Jones, would you mind reading the Clay County Schools mission statement, please?
The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environment that ensures all students learn at a high level.
Thank you. Announcements are just our next board meeting will be December the 19th. We moved that one up to avoid the Christmas holiday, so that's a little bit earlier in the month than normal. And then just a special thank you to Miss Reinhardt's food class. They prepared dinner for us again this evening. We had a wonderful chicken and broccoli casserole and a really, really good peach cobbler. So, and there's a list of students on the screen back there. So we appreciate those folks and Miss Reinhardt for getting that together for us. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as it is presented and as it was emailed to you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. And no public comment. I didn't see anybody sign up down there. Paul. Too close. So with no public comment, we'll move right into the recognition section of our agenda. And at this time, we've got NCAT. Some folks from NCAT are here to talk about the Beulah Paget Wichard Honored Educator Scholarship for Clay County teachers. So.
Thank you, Board of Education. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Superintendent Cole. Isn't that funny how your phone always rings? And
Always. Always.
It's potential spam too. So anyway, but anyway, I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm going to introduce one of our Board of Trustees, Mr. Scott Penland, and he'll come up here and say a couple words, and then we'd like to, if it's okay with you, to have a photo, and then afterwards have Judge Wichard say a couple words, and we do have some refreshments in the room next door. But thank you for your support of NCAT, thank you for your support of education, and it's an honor to be here tonight. So, Mr. Penland.
This is Dr. Brian Womble, Director of NCAT.
Thank you, Dr. Womble, and thank the school board for allowing us to come tonight. I come as a board of trustees from NCAT. NCAT goes back a long way in my heart. It's near and dear what it does for teachers. I have never had a teacher go to NCAT that didn't come back and say it was one of the best experiences they've ever had in their life. So we really appreciate what Judge Wichard is doing for us. Basically is endowing a scholarship that will guarantee every year at least one teacher gets to go to NCAT, and that's a lot. And, a lot of counties, small as Clay, don't have the money to send a lot of teachers. Now they've got a lot of money over here, I know. But anyway, no, it's hard. It's really hard to make it happen a lot of times, but this gives teachers a week to go get rejuvenated, re-energized, get away from the classroom. I know you don't want to take teachers out of the classroom, but I say a 40-week teaching, if you take them out for 1 week, you're going to get enough better 39 weeks out of them, because I've really seen up close and personal what NCAT has and does. We're going to rebuild. We've got $24 million. We're in the middle of a building project to make the living quarters and meeting quarters nicer for teachers. It's just a place to really treat teachers like they need to be treated, first class. And Judge Richard, I can't say enough about what you have done. He's had one in place for Durham and Clay County. And this one will be just for Clay County. So every year there'll be at least one teacher to go. He's a former North Carolina Supreme Court Justice and thought very highly of all over the state of North Carolina. So with that, I'll let Dr. Womble come up and we'll make the presentation.
Thank you. Judge Witcher and the other people, the teachers that are here, that previous recipients, and Dr. Karen Sumner in the back, and Emily Langdon, if you don't mind, and Mr. Penland. We'll share, we'll superintendent all the time, so I'd love to have y'all part of it too. So Emily, take a picture. Where's the best place to stand?
Right there in front of that camera, I think, if we squeeze in. That white camera right there will work. I think facing that white
Emily,
camera.
you mind handing it to them? There we go.
Y'all come this way.
This way, okay.
Yeah, and we'll face towards Mr. Jones there. Pretend like Mr. Jones is taking a picture.
Don't look at me.
Oh, we're looking.
Thank y'all.
Chairman Shook and members of the board, on June 4th, 1904, Beulah Paget was born in the Sweetwater section of Clay County. Across the present highway and back toward the town of Hayesville, a short distance from the Sweetwater Methodist Church. She lived and was educated in this county until, as a young adult, she went to what was then the Cullowhee State Normal School, now Western Carolina University, to prepare to be a teacher. She was a fourth generation Clay County resident. A portion of the land on which this school complex sits was sold to John O. Hicks by her great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, James Preston Coleman, for the original campus of Hicksville Academy, which evolved into Hayesville High School. Upon graduation from the normal school, she returned to her native county of Clay for her early teaching career. The late Neil Jadd often reminded me that she had taught him in an elementary school in the Downings Creek section of the county. In those days, teachers went where they could find work and get the best pay. She was teaching in Pinehurst when she met Willis Wichard, a young American history teacher from eastern North Carolina. They married in 1933 at my grandmother's house here, and soon moved to Durham, which then had the second highest teacher pay supplement in the state. In those Depression-era times, a few extra dollars meant a lot. Although she lived most of her life elsewhere, she valued her roots in Clay County and instilled a love for it and its people in her son. I first came here when I was not quite 2 months old to see my grandmother, or more accurately, for my grandmother to see me. I don't remember a thing about it. As a boy, I spent my entire summers on my grandmother's small subsistence farm here. As an adult, I knew I did not want to lose my ties to this place and its people. I thus purchased a home in the town of Hayesville, which I've now had for over 43 years. This place is very much home to my family and me. As a consequence, when my mother died on January 15th, 1999, I knew I wanted to do something to honor her memory and that I wanted it to benefit Clay County. A few months before, I had become a member of the foundation board at the North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching in Cullowhee. I was impressed, and am still, with what its professional development programs do to enhance the life and work of North Carolina teachers, and through them, the lives of their students. I suggested to the NCAT executive director the possibility of a scholarship in my mother's name that would allow a teacher to attend an NCAT seminar once a year. the director was delighted. I did not realize at the time that I was starting a program. Other scholarships soon followed. Today there are 53 honored educator scholarships at NCAT, 39 of them fully funded. As I believe Scott Penland noted, the initial Whichard Honored Educator Scholarship was to be split between teachers from Clay County and teachers from Durham County. The following teachers from Clay have had the scholarship, and if any of them are present, I request that they stand as I call their names and remain standing until the list is complete. Sally Brock, Tiffany Clapsaddle, Melanie Thompson, Janine Craig, Carla Beck. Carla, yeah. I had a great lunch with Carla at the family restaurant after she got back from the Holocaust seminar in Washington, and I learned something myself. She learned a lot. And Amanda Gaddis. Recently, as noted, I completed the funding for a second Beulah Paget Whichard Honored Educator Scholarship. And from now on, every year, a teacher from Clay County will attend an NCAT seminar as a Whichard Scholar. That is what we celebrate tonight. My thanks to Superintendent Dale Cole and to the members of this board for arranging this occasion. It pleases me greatly to know that in perpetuity, a teacher from this system will benefit from NCAT's professional development programs, and that in the process, my mother and her teaching career will be honored in perpetuity as well. In closing, I thank all of you for what you do for the education of the children of this county. On more than one occasion, I've heard Howard Manning, my friend and the longtime trial judge in the Leandro case, say, if you don't believe a relatively poor rural county can have good schools, go to Clay County. Not bad praise for your work. That of your predecessors, your teachers and administrators, and their students. Not bad at all.
Just very quickly, because I know that some of the members are about to step out. They're going to have a reception for Judge Whichard in honor of this event. But just on behalf of the board and on behalf of the school system and all the teachers, past and present, I know Tiffany Clapsaddle is an administrator in Cherokee County Schools now. Miss Janine Craig just recently retired, and so not everyone could come tonight. I haven't been here for all that you have done for Clay County Schools, but it's impressive. I think in a time where I think there's a lot of negative out there in the news and politically about public education, it's so very important that people of your stature step up and support things like this for North Carolina teachers. And I, for one, very much appreciate your willingness to do so. And I know they do as well. So thank you, Judge Whichard.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Thank you, Judge Whichard, for doing that again. That's can't express enough thanks for that. I don't believe so. We really appreciate you doing that. And so, at this time, if you guys want to do your reception, you can. The board is going to respectfully decline. We've got a pretty full agenda, so we're going to continue on if that's okay. Next, we have the report section. Mr. Cole's going to get that started.
We have one report tonight, members of the board. I have shared with you a full copy of a grant proposal that we have put together with a local consulting firm that is located in Brasstown, but they work internationally and nationwide. I'm not going to read through the entire 14-page grant, but I wanted you guys to have access to be able to read through it and see what it's all about. I'm not asking for approval on this or anything tonight. I'm just sharing it with you for feedback, and I'm not going to lock anything in until after our next board meeting, which will be on the 19th. So that'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. This section of the agenda is titled Dogwood Health Trust Grant to Fund Partnership with Open Way Learning Incorporated. I took a screenshot right there at the top just of kind of the way they do things at Open Way Learning. Adam Hagler is a co-owner of that company. He has a little girl in kindergarten at Hayesville Primary School, so he's very much invested in what we're doing at our schools for the next 13 years. And they do this kind of work in a lot of different areas. They currently are doing some work with the alternative school in Macon County that's been very successful, and they've also worked in some other counties as well. But looking at this triangle from bottom to top, the foundation of everything is a living mission and vision. So you're constantly reworking what it is you're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, and you're constantly deciding what your vision is for the future of what you're trying to accomplish. You do that through collective leadership, which is something that I'm a huge proponent of. I think we do everything as a team in Clay County Schools, including leadership. Our leadership team includes all of our principals, APs, directors, and coordinators, and meets once a week on the same day, because we believe in collective leadership. We think everyone needs to know what's happening at every one of our schools so that they can all have a say-so and be willing to and be able to explain the big picture to anyone that asks them at the grocery store or out on the street or anywhere else. That's how we present a united front. They do it through radical collaboration. Again, that comes with collective leadership. And then all of that working together leads to authentic innovation. Really trying to change the way you do things to get different outcomes. It's practices and strategies, and what it is a culture. If you constantly work on that triangle, then what you're building is a culture of collaboration and leadership that happens as a group. That's very much different than most school districts that tend to be sort of a top-down, hierarchical kind of leadership strategy. So just as far as notes for this possible partnership, if approved, it would start on January 11th, 2023. It would initially end June 30th, 2024, but there's a possibility that this could continue for another 2 to 3 years once we get to that point with Dogwood Health Trust financing, if we feel good about the direction that we're going. The title is Co-Designing Clay County Schools' Future. And I'm just going to read through this. For a region that desperately needs more forward-thinking entrepreneurs and skilled workers to bolster its economy and quality of life, CCS has an obligation to cultivate in-demand skills in its students through innovative educational practices that have been proven to work in schools and districts across the country. Thus, if all of the schools in CCS could synthesize their focus on a common aspirational theme that aligns the future of learning with the future of work, one that was also informed with direct feedback from our local stakeholders, which would include students, parents, and community members, then our schools could collectively transform our instructional, our pedagogical approach, using engaging, learner-centered, and research-based instructional strategies that would establish CCS as a beacon of educational innovation that could catalyze local economic growth and prosperity. In short, we want to do things differently. And we feel like we need to do things differently to meet the needs of what the economy is now and will be in the future. By engaging in a human-centered design thinking process, CCS will engage deeply with the community in an effort to create a collective vision, instructional theme, and a new strategic plan that reflects the current and future needs of the area. So think portrait of a graduate, specific to CCS. We have the state's work, and we feel like now is the time to start working on Clay County's version of that. We have already presented this grant proposal to Dogwood Health Trust, and they have already approved funding for us beginning January 11th and ending June 30th, 2024 for $90,300 to partner with Open Way Learning to provide, I think when you're looking at vision work like this, it's better for a third-party company to kind of lead that work, because then it doesn't look like I'm trying to steer it. I'm just part of the group that works on this work. Hopefully we're going to have some board members that will be a part of it. We're going to invite our Chamber of Commerce partners, our business partners for our CTE advisory group. We're a member of the Clay County Rotary Club, so we're going to invite them. We're going to invite our student council members at the high school to be a part of it. We'll invite teachers, we'll invite community members. But it's going to be a process over this spring to kind of bring those folks together and work on what it is we really want to see for Clay County school students as an end result. So I wanted to share that with you. It's not up for vote tonight, but it will be on the agenda for December 19th for your approval, and if it's approved at that point in time, then I'll sign the grant with Dogwood Health Trust and Open Way Learning. You have the actual grant, so if you have any questions over the next couple of weeks, just let me know.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments about that?
None at the moment.
Okay. So next we'll move into the action item, and we have the approval of the MOU with Youth Villages. And Ms. Angel Owens has that for us.
So, Youth Villages has worked within Clay County schools for years, but they've always worked under the direction with the Department of Justice, with juvenile justice and students through those cases. But they've reached out and wanted to start beginning working with our students at large where services are needed. And it's basically just a connection between them and Heights, which was approved last month, to partner to provide community support services for students in need. This can be based on parent referral, school referral, and principal approval, and then they would come in and they offer things such as pace setters and those programs that have been so good, and offer alternative ways to help students figure out what's going on and what they need and how we can best help them so that they can be most productive in school. So we're just asking for approval for this, and if you approve, for Dr. Shook to sign tonight.
Any questions or comments about this MOU?
Could this question was answered earlier, but I'm just curious, this works with all students?
This would be all students. It's not just special ed students of needs, it's any students in need with mainly behavioral concerns, but you know, the way we're working our student support team now, we are finding ways to help any students in need. You know, we've got a great social worker now, our school psychologist, our counselors work together. Mr. Cole and I both attend those meetings, and we're coming together and doing case management and discussing what's going on with these students, what we can do to offer them in need, and this is just another way to offer support for those students. So.
Any other questions or comments?
I want to be clear as well that it says in the MOU that youth villages will obtain parental permission to obtain services and exchange confidential information with the school.
Yeah.
So this isn't anything we would do without, you know, the parents knowing. The parents would have to know about it and approve of it and sign off on it.
And principal approval too, sorry.
That's correct.
I mean, I feel comfortable as long as we have all those approvals and,
Yes.
and eyes on it. I think that's, especially from a parental perspective, as well, getting that permission, or getting that permission, I should say.
And I think historically, pace setters has always been a huge help for our
It's a great
kids.
program.
And that's-
It is.
yeah.
It's been really good.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the MOU with the Youth Villages Incorporated. Mr. Caldwell makes a motion. Mr. Jones second. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Next, we have the recommendation to approve proposed administrative regulations for the following policies. We have school trips, evaluation of student progress, class rankings, and graduation requirements.
Yes, members of the board, you'll recall at the last meeting that these administrative regulations for these policies were shared with you for your review. I didn't get any questions on them or anything, so went ahead and put them on the agenda for approval for tonight. Again, these are regulations. They don't change the policies. They just define how we carry the policy out. And so if approved tonight, then the School Boards Association will be notified to add these administrative regulations to our policy handbook, so that everyone can see how we go about carrying out those policies.
Is there any questions or comments about those regulations?
I didn't have any questions. I did like the clarification on the school trips. I think that has been a little confusing.
It has.
And so forth, and I think that's going to be beneficial in helping understand and regulate that policy.
I think it'll create a lot more consistency with how we do
I
it
think
as well.
so. I think so. And also for the class rankings, the only wasn't a question. So I guess I could. It's not really factoring into this, but previously had we been counting in 8th grade courses? I mean, when they take high school level courses into their class rankings, is that
So-
in 8th grade?
Okay,
I didn't
so,
think we were, but when I read that, I was.
so GPA doesn't start until you become a 9th grader.
Right.
Okay, but you can take high school courses in middle school and earn high school credit, but you don't get credit towards your GPA.
Gotcha.
You get
That's-
credit on your transcript. But what that allows you to do is to take more community college classes or higher level classes on the back end of your high school career, which allows you to up your GPA more.
Gotcha.
That's the idea.
That's okay.
Because if you start high school earlier, then you can take more higher level classes at the end, hopefully earn more college credits, and then those AP classes, community college classes, they count for more towards your GPA as well.
Okay.
But if you take Math 1 in 8th grade, that doesn't start your GPA, and it doesn't count towards your GPA. It just counts as a high school credit.
I didn't think it did with it. I just kind of confused myself. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
That's kind of how we fit in calculus at the end. A lot of times is by taking math earlier.
Then, gotcha.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve those regulations.
Make a motion to approve the regulation.
Mr. Jones makes a motion.
No, second it.
Ms. Beck, second. All in favor? Thank you. And next we have budget amendments. Mr. Cole has those.
Right.
Ms. Hollingsworth is out. So.
Yes, sir. I get to do budget amendments tonight. Ms. Hollingsworth and the bookkeepers are all at a training session for finance, school and district finance officers over the next 2 days. So Ms. Hollingsworth put together the summary of budget resolution and amendments for you. You can, as always, see the amendment notes at the bottom, which explains what changes have taken place. I'll go through those amendments for the state public school fund, which is on page 1. For 014, CTE progress support for credential allotments, we received $17,899. That allows us to pay for our students to take credential exams in their CTE classes. They don't give us those, we have to pay for them. So The second one is 015 School Technology Fund current year allotment and May and June interest. We received an additional $14,581. 039 SRO School Safety Grant. We received funding from our new grant that allowed us to add an SRO position for the primary school, which they are working on filling now. It's looking like maybe January is when we'll get someone there full time. We also added in $15,000 to complete access controls for our exterior doors. This will allow us to secure the field house, which we have students taking weightlifting in the field house pretty much all day, and we didn't have access control on those doors. And then one additional door at the back of the middle school gym that had also not been covered. So that'll finish out all of our access control doors for exterior. Also, just on that note, Sheriff Buchanan came by and visited all the schools today too. Now technically he doesn't start until Monday, but he came out and did a tour today with the SROs and met all the principals and did a walkthrough of all the buildings. So appreciated seeing him today and seeing him in our schools this early on. 048 was a test result bonus of $1,077. 054 was a LEP allotment adjustment for students that are limited English proficient. We had an increase in that area, so we got a little additional funding of $1,672. 066 is our teacher assistant tuition reimbursement program. We received $23,000 for that. Supplemental funds for teacher compensation, so two payments of $2,085 issued in December. That is $615,958. 073 school connectivity allotment adjustment. We actually had to remove $994 there. Literacy intervention for the primary school and elementary school, we had an additional $25,080. And then 088 is a feminine hygiene grant program. We received $5,000 to purchase materials for our female students. So just a total $791,605. Questions about the state funds?
That school connectivity allotment adjustment, I mean, it's only $994, but where is that? Where do we take, I mean, we just kind of move that to another, I don't know, I'm sure.
Mr. Jeffries, did you and Ms. Hollingsworth talk about that change? This connectivity grant? Okay.
I was just curious where that kind of.
Yeah, that one, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I could find out for you though and let the board know
That'll be
on that one. Next is the other specific revenue fund. And there were just 3 changes there. For 914 Community Foundation of North Carolina Learning Links Grant. This is for our AIG program, our advanced students. We received an additional $796. 443, the North Carolina Department of Agriculture Clay Sprout Grow Green program. That's for our CTE agriculture program. We received a grant of $4,000 for a project that they're doing. And 444, the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality Volkswagen Settlement Grant. Those are the funds, $104,079 that we will use to purchase a new activity bus. So we received those funds. So that's for a total of $108,875.
Question on the bus. How much is it going to cost for that bus?
$104,079.
For sure.
That's what I've been told.
Okay.
That's what I'm going by.
And when do we plan to purchase that?
As soon
As
as
soon as
we
possible.
approve these budget amendments tomorrow, we'll let Mr. Moore know. And now I don't know where we are on the bus being built. Maybe it's sitting in a parking lot somewhere waiting on us to go get it. But
Let's hope.
let's hope.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Any other questions or comments? If not, then we'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments as they were presented.
I'll make a
Go ahead.
motion to approve.
Ms.
I'll
Crawford,
second it.
Mr. Jones, second.
Don't
All
want to
in
get that
favor?
bus.
Yeah. Good.
And get those funds dispersed.
Yes.
Next, Ms. Owens with the recommendation to raise substitute teacher pay.
We need substitutes badly. This is a cry for we need substitutes. We need applicants for substitutes. We're advertising constantly. We're reaching out to people, hey, do you want a substitute? But we have found through some surveys conducted regionally, I'm part of the PAINT group that meets monthly in Asheville, and that's all the Western region, human resources directors, and we discuss things like this, you know, what's going on in your county, and substitutes is in high need everywhere right now. We currently pay $81 for a non-certified sub. That's someone who does not hold a North Carolina teacher license. It doesn't matter if they have a Florida license or anything else. It has to be North Carolina in order for North Carolina DPI to reimburse us for what we pay. So we pay $81 for non-certified, and we pay $105 for a certified sub who holds a current North Carolina teacher license. If you'll look at that comparison chart, Adrian, do you care to move? We're at the bottom of the list. Now, your chart that you have, this, you got Towns County in it, good. Towns County just responded today, and theirs looks a little bit different because they don't look at certified or non-certified subs. They just pay $100 for a regular ed sub and $110 for an EC sub, and then they pay a different rate for teacher assistant substitutes. But down there at the bottom line for Towns County, they pay an additional $10 a day for a long-term sub, like for maternity leaves and such as that. But if you look, our neighbor just across the mountain, Macon County, is at the top of our region. They're paying $150 a day for a certified sub. And I have had certified subs tell me, why would I come here if I'm going to go to Clay County? We have a retired administrator who subs for them, who doesn't sub for us, because the pay rate is so different. So as you see, we're at the bottom. So I'm asking for an increase to $125 a day for certified and to $100 a day for non-certified. That's a $20 increase and a $19 increase. We pay the same sub rate even if they're for a teacher assistant. It doesn't matter. If we need a sub, we pay the sub rate, period. So we do not have a difference for long-term subs, and that might be something we have to come back and talk with you guys about again later. But right now, we would like to just push ourselves up at least to the middle of this list for the region, and compete at least with our neighboring Union County, Macon County. Cherokee County's right down there close to us, but I have shared the same chart with all these other districts in the PAINT group and said, here's what I've gathered, and if you want to use it for your own needs as well. But I would just like to get us up there to make us a little more competitive so we can get more subs. Please.
I'm going to ask just a far-fetched question about how many subs are we averaging a day on a daily?
I did not pull that today. Our fill rate's at about 80%, 85% when I brought it to our leadership meeting.
What that means is for the available jobs on a daily basis for subs to fill, we fill about 80% of them.
Yeah.
And the other 20% we have to cover with teachers on their planning period, or principals go in and cover, or a counselor goes in and covers.
Yeah. Fill rates is basically what we get on our report through the SubFinder system that we use, which has been a great asset. It's an app that just sends out any jobs to anybody that is signed up to sub at specific schools. And so they can choose if they want to accept that job or not. But of course, flu season has hit us hard. Holidays are hitting us hard. So we need something that we can add a little oomph to come into Clay County to sub, and taking those jobs when they're open.
Mr. Oberlin, on average, how many subs do you think you have per day?
I mean, it varies wildly, but I would say on an average day, 2 to 3.
Same.
But that's a lot. I mean, by the time you
But
add it into all of our schools.
I was thinking somewhere between 10 and 15 subs a day between all 4 of our schools.
Yeah, but that's good, what they're saying.
Well, we fill 80% of them, but it's that
Yeah.
20% that is nagging.
Yeah.
We're trying to.
And that just adds extra stress and work on our other employees that are having to cover for those. And it takes away from the kids, because those people have jobs to do, but if they're having to dual cover, they're not being able to do their job to the fullest. So I would like to have this increase just to help us meet the needs of the students and, You know, people can't help when they have to be out when they're sick and doctor's appointments, surgeries, you know, maternity leaves and such. And we do the best we can to fill them. We work collectively to find subs. Yeah, and so it's a great need right now.
I want to thank Ms. Owens for doing this research and putting it together. Sometimes school districts can be tight-lipped about things, and but you know, I don't think Clay County should be at the bottom of anything. So when I saw that we were at the bottom of subpay, I mean that's something that we can do. That will, at least in the areas that we compete with, will be second to Graham County.
Well, I did have a substitute approach me. I was at the funeral home last week, and she's interested in subbing. She said, well, hey, I'm going to go to Union County. They pay more. So, you know, I just want to compete. I want to be at the top. I want to be at least in the middle of the road, you know, trying to compete with these people, because substitutes are, you know, in prime need right now.
Have we, maybe after if it's approved, to Chris's friend, have we communicated to retire
Yes.
teachers?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Please. Not that
Retired
it's just-
teachers, TAs, you know, bus drivers that I meet when I'm down at the bus garage every month. I'll say, hey, you want to sub? You know, or if I meet somebody, hey, you want to sub? Because it's on the forefront of our needs. So,
Jason, guess what you're doing on Friday?
Yeah, put me on the sub list.
now I will say the $81 rate is the state set rate. So this is the difference will come from local funds.
That's correct.
But as you see, all these other districts have upped their amounts, and they're having to pay for that locally as well.
That's what I was going to ask. Long term, we can manage that if it passes on our local fund.
Yes, as of now, yes. Well, Mr. Penland was here tonight. He said that he was going to make sure that we
Had plenty of money.
had plenty of money. Isn't that what he said?
I'm going to go hand this to him here in just a second.
I thought I heard that as well.
Well,
We've got that on recording. So.
with us approving this also, you know, that makes, as far as what you said about teachers having to cover, principals, all this.
Right.
When we're having a principal out of his position, that can put us in a bad situation. When a teacher has her planning period and she's taken out her planning, and if she doesn't do her planning when she gets home, the next day she's behind already. So we don't need that.
No.
We need to take care of our teachers and our substitutes.
And that goes along, we just don't want to, you know, fight against the fatigue and burnout. That's what we don't want in this time.
And you don't want to have to tell a teacher, you know, you don't want to go to them and say, hey, can you not be out? Because we can't have a sub if it's a medical reason or something of need, you know, that. And, you know, we do look at those reasons why they're going to be out. We have to now because we are running short on coverage.
Ms. Hollingsworth and I examined this, and we can sustain it now. If we start getting 50 non-certified subs a day for some reason, you know, then we might have to rethink. But if things stay like they've been, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, please call a special call board meeting. If that starts happening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Any other discussion or comments? If not, you've heard the recommendation to increase the substitute pay. So I entertain a motion that we do
I make a
that.
motion to increase the pay.
Mr. Jones.
No, second.
Ms. Beck, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks. Thank you for doing that, Angel. Next, we have the recommendation to approve the purchase of a new scoreboard and play clock system for the football field.
Yes.
Members of the board, I've added a quote to your packet. It has NEVCO at the top, NEVCO quotation. So our scoreboard at the football field has been a continuous pain over the last 2 seasons of having breakdowns, and we've kind of been able to MacGyver it and keep it going. But it's just one of those deals where it's so old you can't get parts for it. And so whenever something breaks, we're kind of having to create stuff to kind of get it to work. And I think it's time that we consider buying a new scoreboard. Our play clocks are the same way. And obviously there's been a lot of technological advancements in scoreboards in the last, I think, 40 years since we got this scoreboard. I think it's time. We also have some funding from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association that we received last year. It was right at $101,000 that we are limited to using just for athletic facility needs. I've kind of been holding on to that money to kind of see what would happen because another thing we're going to have to talk about in the future with the commissioners is the football field itself is getting very close to being needing to be replaced, and that's going to be a substantial investment. But I don't think we can hold off on the school board any longer. They're about 5 to 6 months out when you order one. So if we order one January 1st, we're going to be getting it in June. And I would like to have it in place, hooked up, and ready to go by August 1 of football practice next year. So I prefer to go ahead and move forward on this. We received quotes from 2 different companies. They were both within $20 of one another, which didn't surprise me. This includes, I've kind of included a picture up here of what it would look like. Now, I will say that the truss at the top of the school board and the logo, that's an additional cost that we don't have to install. I think it looks really good. So that is an additional, if we buy it from the company, that's an additional just short of $8,000 for that. But we also have some local business owners that I've talked with that feel like they can build that themselves for a much cheaper cost if we can write them a tax break form and then just pay for the materials. So we may not end up going that route. We may just buy the school board and then add the truss and the logo with some local work. I don't quite know yet. I've also been approached by several business owners about purchasing one of the signs at the bottom. And you'll notice that there are 5 panels at the bottom of that school board. Those are going to be pretty big panels. And that's going to be the best advertising in the house because everybody's looking at the school board every 30 seconds. I know that one of our school districts nearby has installed a school board exactly like this with those panels, and they charge $2,500 a year for each of those panels. So I'm thinking that maybe if we offer something along the lines of $5,000 for a 5-year contract, our business owners are getting that advertising for 5 years at $1,000 a year. That gives us $25,000 of the whole cost, and we might could even go a little higher than that. So I think that we'll get a lot of the money back on our school board through the advertisements, and then those funds could be used for other athletics needs. But we've got the funding up front to buy the school board, and then we can get our money back through the advertisement. This would include new play clocks at each end of the field. It also includes, it's all Bluetooth now, so we don't have to, we've already got power everywhere where we need to have it. We think that the EMC may help us out on a crane on lifting it up and putting it up there so we can hook it up. It would also come with a wireless handheld control, so we can actually hand control of the time clock over to the referee, and he can have that in his hand so he can quit blaming our clock operator for stuff. He can run the clock himself. I think all in all, it's a lot of good stuff. It also allows our coaches to run the play clocks and the game clock from the field during practice. They don't have to have somebody up in the field house. So they can just run it from the field, from the handheld.
Nice.
That'd be nice. If you've ever coached football before, that's nice. So that's what I'm looking for. Any questions?
Any questions or comments about the scoreboard and using those funds? If not, then I'll entertain a motion that we approve the purchase of a new scoreboard and play clock system for the football field.
Well,
Sure.
If I may, so are we requesting approval with the top part or without?
So I'm requesting approval for the quote that includes the truss at the top and the logo. So that's the full $38,193.39. However, if we end up using a local business to kind of do that part of it, it's gonna knock it down to just short of 31,000. And I've got another quote that is the exact amount without the truss and logo, but I figure let's just go ahead and approve the bigger number, and then I can always, you know, go for less.
Thank you.
If y'all are willing to do it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so again, I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the new scoreboard and the play clock system with this quote that's here.
That we approve the scoreboard.
There's a motion, is there a second? Mr. Caldwell, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And next, I have the consent agenda, and there's board meeting minutes from October 24th. There's the administrative regulations that were in your Google Drive and policy updates that are there for first read that's also included in Google Drive.
Dr. Shook, I wanted to point out too, I shared with you in your packet, it says custom updates. Those are the School Board Association updates. That's the whole list for the fall updates. That's what's in that Google Drive if you want to go through and read the policy changes themselves. But this document gives you the gist of each one. There are no new policies. These are just legal updates to existing policies.
So most of that looked like legislative changes.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions about the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve it as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Crawford,
Consent
I'll
agenda.
second.
Ms. Beck, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then next, I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session for personnel and negotiation.
Make a motion.
Mr. Caldwell.
Second.
Mr. Jones, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And you were good with Monday morning.